My name is Ann Brierly. I have a little business called Steps and Stones, and we've been doing Hypertufa pots for about 12 years. So first of all, Hypertufa is a mixture of perlite, peat moss, and Portland cement. This is Portland. It's just as like silk. Looks just like silk. Feels like silk, like a baby, really good baby bath powder thing. But the aggregate in this is not sand, although you can put sand in it. Perlite. We add perlite to this, and then this is this little styrofoamy looking thing, which is perlite. Now, I sift my peat moss with this screen to get the big pieces out. Any container can do. This box can do. This dollar store bin can do. A cake top from someplace can do. Basket. Now you may lose the basket. I go to AmVets and buy my baskets, but you would fill this with Hypertufa. It will give you a lot of nice texture on the outside. Sometimes you can even make Hypertufa in a basket and leave it in the basket. Eventually the basket will deteriorate, but the Hypertufa, when it does, the Hypertufa will be inside and it will have a nice pattern of this lattice. Before you mix anything, you need to prepare your pot. We're going to spray this with Blaster silicone lubricant. You could probably use Pam if you wanted to, and maybe I'm not supposed to mention the name. Anyway, we're now spraying. Especially those little feet. Why I bought anything with feet, I don't know. These has little feet. I don't know why I did that. Just to make sure that it comes out of this little pot, we're going to line it with plastic. And that will give it a little texture on the side too, and I'll show you that later. At least I hope it will. Anyway, here we go. I want to tell you, and I learned this. Never, never, never mix all this together without water and walk out the door, because the cement will pick up the moisture in the perlite and the peat moss, and you will have an unusable mixture. Take the perlite and the peat moss, just your regular, standard, run-of-the-mill hardware store peat moss. This has been sifted. I am going to put gloves on here, and I am going to wear a mask. And it's not an OSHA mask, it's some kind of a mask that you use when you sweep floors. Anyway, I'm going to mix this together with my hands. And then I'm going to put in this cement, which is heavy. Here's the mask. Put that on. It's a very attractive look here. Okay, here we go. Now we're going, as you're mixing it, just move your hands around in there. If there's a few little lumps in the cement, you can break them up. Now, at the ready, I have water. And I have to be very careful that I don't put in too much water, because I don't have anything left. I don't have anything left to add to this. So we're going to put water in here. And we're going to mix it. And we're going to try to make it like cottage cheese. The drier the mix that you can work with, the stronger the pot. Cement has really a life of its own. Cement, you know, you can spend $15,000 on a driveway and it can crack on you in 1 year. So even this, if it's out there for no reason at all, sometimes will crack, and sometimes you can have a pot for 10 years and it doesn't do a thing. It just grows your plant. Your plant grows in it. Get down to the very bottom. It has an elusive way of hiding itself. And there it is. We're going to add a little more to this. Let's see. Now, this looks like maybe something wonderful is happening. Let's see what's hidden. A little more hidden here. Now, I think this looks pretty good. All right, we're going to move this onto this trusty stool here. And here is our prepared pot. And we're going to put the Hypertufa in the bottom of the pot. And that's a nice bottom. And push it in nice and hard. Push it up the sides. When I make a Hypertufa pot, I use my thumb. I have big hands, but I use my thumb as an indicator for thickness. I've heard people say, oh, it fell apart when I unpotted it. And then they'll look at these and they'll say, oh, these are nice and thick. So, yep. You can't have skimpy Hypertufa. Don't think you're saving yourself anything by not making it nice and chunky and thick. Take your thumb here. Take that thumb and measure the thickness of that Hypertufa with that thumb. And there you go. That's a nice, chunky, thick pot right there. Nice, about that's width of my thumb right there. Nice and chunky, nice and chunky. You want some strength in there. And I'm going to show you one more thing before I bring out the other pot. You could use a pencil. I just happen to have a toothbrush handy. It's not, you need a drainage hole. And whatever you do, you need to have a drainage hole. And it's very hard to put in once this gets dry. If it happens to fill in and you've made the drainage hole, you probably could take a screwdriver and push it through and it would make your drainage hole. And you can see that's fairly thick. That's the bottom of that is about up to my knuckle, my first knuckle of my finger there. And so that's about how thick you want to make it. Nice, the bottom here is nice and thick, and you be sure to push it in nice and firmly. The sides, nice and firm, and that you would continue to the very top. And then you just set it aside and let it sit there. Maybe a week. I could probably do it sooner, but for somebody just starting out, about a week. And it should, in the best of all worlds, slip out of there just as wonderful as you can imagine. This is a prepared pot. This is about 3 weeks old. And here's the drainage hole. Wait a minute, let me dump this out here a little bit. There's the drainage hole right there. And there's the sides, about as thick as my thumb right there. Now, we're going to turn this over and see what happens. Miracle of miracles, it has slipped out of its container and it's going to come out of here. You can see it has a little texture on the side from the plastic bag. It has these funny little feet here, which is kind of nice to have it up off the ground, because I tell people that in Buffalo, you leave anything outside, there's this thaw-freeze cycle that goes on. And so you kind of want, if you leave this out, you kind of want to leave it up on something. Well, now you've got little feet here, but they're not very far. But there you go. So there it is. Oh, no. It did not go all the way through. Perfect. Let's fix the drainage hole, too. Now I'm going to take a pair of scissors and my trusty little pointy thing here. And in the best of all worlds, we will, look at that. And take a pair of scissors and just go like this with the scissors. If the scissors are in the basement, you're not using them for sewing usually. So this is not going to go upstairs and there's your drainage hole. If I was doing this professionally, making this pot for somebody, I probably would have unmolded it earlier. Maybe after 4 or 5 days, I would have taken the knives up there and probably made this edge a little smoother. You could make an indoor garden out of it. You could put some sedums in there. Nice cactus garden. Bring it inside in the winter. Some ivies, some ground covers, and maybe something overflowing the side like creeping Jenny would be pretty. And maybe a little fern over in here. Could bring that inside too. And there is your finished pot. Well, I would probably throw the gloves away. The ideal thing would be to do it outside. That's where we learned. Outside, in the yard, put a tarp down, put your mixing container down there, and then when you're finished, just hose it off. Because most of this stuff is not going to hurt anything. You just would have to hose it off, and then you would take your pot home. Throw away your gloves and your mask, and don't wear anything that you care about. Let everything harden.
Mm-hmm.
And be patient. Now some people will say it needs to be cured. I wash them, I let them dry. If I have time, I leave them outside, but actually I probably plant them up very soon after I make them. I would say maybe 3 weeks, month after I make them. It's fun, it's creative. And you get something back from it, something in the garden that you will look at and say, I made that stone pot.